Hello, welcome to the G.I. Joe New News Classified Reviews. My name is David T. Allen, or if you would like, Super Dave 817. If you would like to see more of this content, please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification button for future videos. Thank you and enjoy.
Hello, welcome to another episode of the G.I. Joe New News Classified Review. Good morning, I'm David Allen. If you would like, you can call me Super Dave 817. Thank you, everybody in the chat. Hello, Michael Gene Fleming. Thanks for joining us today. We are covering Vintage Package Snake Eyes, the last of the exclusive Walmart vintage line of figures through Classified, and this is an interesting figure in and of itself. So let's go into a little bit of the history of the vintage package line. So that was Walmart's first vintage packaged or I should say exclusive line through them. So Target had Tiger Force, Python Patrol, and the Cobra Island. Good morning, Crusty Old Crow. Thanks for joining us today. So Walmart wanted an exclusive line. So they got the vintage packaged exclusive line of figures. And thank you. So this is the last of that initial vintage lineup that had that was exclusive through Walmart. Now the package was a lot slimmer, and there was a lot of bad deliveries and people getting them squished and crushed and twisted and stuff like that. So Walmart canceled that line, and Hasbro canceled that line, and so this would be the last one. Now there was speculation that there was going to be two other figures originally that were going to be the last two figures. It was not going to be the Crimson Guard and Snake Eyes. It was originally going to be the Viper and Major Blood, but neither one of those came to be. We ended up with the Crimson Guard, and we ended up with pretty much spot on vintage Snake Eyes. Now, this wouldn't have been such a bad thing, except that these figures, the last couple, were a lot harder to get. Now, I didn't have any problem getting the Crimson Guard. I saw plenty of Crimson Guards, but this Snake Eyes was so difficult to get. I ended up ordering mine from Europe because I could never get any in the US. Even toy dealers, and I travel around the country a lot of toy dealers, nobody had this. I know there was one or two people that said they found it at stores, but not that many people got it in the stores in the US. So I ended up getting my two Snake Eyes vintage package figures in Europe. And you can see some of the indicia on the back is a little bit different and stuff like that because it was from Europe. But this is another beautiful piece of art by Hasbro. It looks like it's very vintage inspired this time, very close to Hector Garrido. So I don't know. I'd have to get a vintage one to look at it, but it looks very, very close. I could be mistaken, but it looks pretty close, but I don't think it's 100% exact. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. So then we have the back of the package. Oh, this is the eighth figure, by the way, if I didn't mention that already. It's the eighth. And then we have the cross cell in the back, and it has the last four figures. The Crimson Guard and Snake Eyes were the last two. They released these in waves of two. So let's go into his file card a little bit. Snake Eyes, Roll Commando, Primary Specialty Infantry, Secondary Specialty Combat Instructor, Birthplace Classified. Proficient in 12 unarmed fighting systems, jungle, desert, and Arctic survival, Snake Eyes is a total mystery, but he's real good at his job. Heck, he's the best. Now, see, I find that interesting that they say that he's proficient in 12 unarmed fighting systems. He's also a jungle, desert, and Arctic survivalist. So now that answers a couple of questions because he's always in the jungle doing stuff, right? But then we end up with a desert version of Snake Eyes because it says he's proficient in desert. And then we get the Snake Eyes with Polar Bear, which is Arctic, which is Arctic proficiency. So that's interesting that they put that on this card. Maybe they were planning to do the desert and Arctic versions of Snake Eyes way back when they were doing this. So again, this is the very last Walmart exclusive figure for their line. But Walmart will get another exclusive line shortly after this, and we will be going into that in a little while. So, all right, let's get this Snake Eyes open, and we'll see what we have in here. So, of course, he comes with the stand. All vintage figures come with stands, and he also comes with the legal indicia and gobbledygook there. We'll put that back in there, and we'll put this package down here out of the way. So let's see. He's got his little pouch. Yeah. So this is pretty much a almost one-for-one version of Snake Eyes version 1. Looking at him, and I have brought out several other Snake Eyes to do as comparison from the classified line, the previous Snake Eyes. I don't have all of them, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. There's a Henry Cavill one. I don't have that one. And then now this one. So this is the 7th. So this is our 7th figure. And then we're going to get an 8th one very shortly. So I believe there's going to be a Snake Eyes almost every year from now till current. There's been 2 or 3 more Snake Eyes released after this one. I've always seen Snake Eyes as a guy that when he is not doing missions is taking as many training courses as possible to get as broad of a range of skills as possible. That is 100% correct. I believe it says that on his training, his file card, it says he's real good at his job. Heck, he's the best. Snake Eyes is a trainer. Combat instructor. So there you go. He's a combat instructor. So yeah, I would guess that he would keep all of his quals up to date. I think that's what they call that, quals, your qualifications. Michael Gene Fleming. When you try to keep up like your piloting skills, your gun range skills, different skills, you have to keep to a certain grade. So I'm sure he's always trying to keep his grades up because he's like the best at everything pretty much. He's like the ultimate fighting machine, I suppose you could say. But so yeah, this is our 7th Snake Eyes, and we're going to be getting 8th very shortly, and then 9 and 10 after that. So there's a lot of Snake Eyes figures, but I think he's got a bunch of mix and match parts and stuff like that. Most of these are based on version 2, the 00, the Fortnite, and the 2 that came with the Timbers. Are pretty close to the second Snake Eyes, whereas this is much closer to the first Snake Eyes, and then this one is pretty close to the first Snake Eyes, a little bit more armored up, a little bit more details on him, and stuff like that. But this is very similar to the vintage version. So he has two. He has this secondary here that's very similar to his vintage, which I think Stalker had. Stalker had this little apparatus on him, the secondary apparatus, and then he's got a holster here with a little sheath next to it, and then he's got a knife sheath on his left leg. So he's got the vintage mask similar to the mask that's on that one, except he doesn't have the bands around the eyes. So that was taken off. So that's slightly different. Then this is much more of a gas mask, whereas this is much more of a straight up balaclava with the goggles. So there is a difference there. He's got the shirt like Stalker with the collar, like the vintage figures a lot of them had. So he's got that shirt underneath. So that's probably similar to that. He's got a little bit of deco on his knuckles. I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but he's got a little bit of metal deco on there to showcase that he's got some metal knucks underneath there somewhere for punching people in the face when he goes and attacks. There's a lot of like layering on those legs. You can see all that detail in the pants, and they're like his uniform pants. What was, I'm trying to think of the name. I don't know. The word that's is escaping my brain, but fatigues, I guess, the fatigue pants there. A lot of little detail in there, and little lines and stuff for the cloth and everything. Very similar to we got, what's his name, not too long ago, Chuckles, and the pants are very similar to that with that detailing in there. He's got those cool combat boots, those old style combat boots with a lot of the rope detail and stuff like that. They look really cool. So his articulation points are the same main articulation points. He's got the new head rocking articulation points. He's got the butterflied shoulders. He's got the the butterfly shoulders, the pinned elbows, pinned knees. He's got the wrist articulation. He does not have a secondary wrist. He does have the ab crunch there and the crotch and waist articulations. He's got the foot rocker and secondary ankle articulation. So the only one he doesn't have is the secondary wrist articulation for this figure. But other than that, he's pretty much loaded for bear. He's got the thigh, he's got the calves articulation, he's got these really cool knee pads. I'm sure we've seen these knee pads on somebody else, but they look kind of cool on him there. There's a lot of detail on that secondary with knives and pouches and all kinds of stuff. It looks really good. I think this is the perfect vintage one Snake Eyes. So after all this time, 75 figures and 8 vintage figures and a bunch of odds and ends here and there, close to 100 figures. It took them that many figures to get to a pretty much vintage classic Snake Eyes. All right, so I'm going to stick him over there. Actually, I'm going to put his pouch on him. So that's his vintage pouch that he came with on his vintage figure. Ammo pouch. So I'm going to put that underneath here. I'm going to put it on his head there, because that's how it is in the vintage. So looks pretty good. There, like that. There. So I got his pouch on there. Looks good. I'm going to try to put him over there without falling over. For now. Till we can get some of his accessories out. All right, so let's see. We have his gun and a ammo cartridge that goes in his gun. So that gun is pretty much similar to 2 or 3 of the guns that he's already gotten. So I tried to mix and match the stuff that he had in his hands, but that's the same gun that he has on all the other ones. and it's got the same basic detailing and stuff like that that they've used. So we'll put that there. And then he has this cartridge. I'm not sure what the cartridge goes to. Maybe the cartridge is a silencer. It could be a silencer. There. So we'll put that down there for now, and we'll get into the rest of these things. So then he has a revolver. I can't recall. Let me see. Yeah, he's got revolvers in several of the other figures. 1, 2, 3, 4. All of them have revolvers. So there you go. There's a revolver. This one's a little bit different revolver, and I think that's where the silencer goes. I think the silencer goes on that revolver. Like that, maybe. Like that. So when he does his assassin work, he's got that revolver with that silencer. I'm guessing that's what that's for. I'll put that over there. So then he has his knife. Let's see. So let's see. Curious. So some of these guys, they have different things attached. Some of them have little things for the silencers on there, and some of them have different spots for cartridges and things like that on the guns and stuff. So I'm going to put this on in his sheath on his leg on his left there. Oops, I forgot to show it to you guys. So there's a little bit of deco on that. It's basically a black knife with a little green deco on the handle there. I'm going to put that in there like that. So there's a lot of paint apps on him that have that like dark turquoise, like blue color. I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's a definite another color, and that's what the handle is that color. It matches that color for that. So that color on the handle is the turquoise that's all around him in these different bands and buckles and pouches and grenades stuff. So he's got that dark like turquoise deco color on there. Put that there. And so then he has 2 little gas grenades that he can throw. Let's see if I can get these out of here. I don't know. 1 and 2. All right, so he has 2 little gas grenades. I'm going to put his package over there. He's got these little 2 gas grenades. They say on there F22 and some numbers and a little bit of deco, red deco. Can you see that? A little bit of red deco there. So I'm not sure where these gas grenades are going to go. I'm going to put them there for now. I am going to put his revolver with his silencer in his pouch on the side here. In this holster that's on his right leg. So we're going to put that in there. And that gun also has a little bit of that dark teal deco. So that's in there. And then there's a little spot for the silencer that has a little bit of a holster next to that. So we can stick that in there. There. So I got the holster, the revolver in there, and that little silencer in there as well. So he's got everything on him so far. So he's gonna the only thing that's not on him is the gas grenades, which I don't know if there's a spot for that. I wish this little bag opened up and you could put them in there, but I don't think you can. So I'm going to put his gun in his hand here, his right hand there. I'm going to put one of the gas grenades in his left hand. So that only leaves us with 1 gas grenade that's kind of loose. There. So I put a gas grenade in that hand there. And I put his gun in this hand here. So then put him on his stand. $6.10 Yojo Daddy. What's up, fellas? Y'all smash that like button and subscribe. What's up, Dave? Hey, not much. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. Yep. Follow what 610 Yojo Daddy has to say about that. Like, share, and subscribe. Notifications and all that good stuff to get this channel. We're very, very close to that 150 subs, and we're getting closer to the 200 videos as well. Crow, that's for you. Michael, that's for you. All right, so we're very close to finishing this Snake Eyes, the vintage Snake Eyes. All right, so this is your vintage package Snake Eyes, number 8 of the vintage line. I think it's perfect. I think this is a perfect vintage variation of Snake Eyes. We only have one extra grenade, so everything went on him, which I love when they do that. Put him with all of his brothers there. So now the deal with Walmart is that they gave up on the vintage package line because there was too much problems with that, with getting it shipped damaged and this and that. I know I've mentioned it a couple of times, but they have got a new vintage, a new exclusive line that will be coming next. In our next video, we will be covering the first 2 releases in that Walmart exclusive line. I will go over more of that in the next video, but it will be two figures because it's the first 2 Walmart exclusive figures for that new line. So we're going to try and move some of this along a little quicker. So I might be doing more than one figure in a video periodically to try and get this moving. So then the vintage package, because this is 75, once we get to 80, we will start a new vintage package line. It'll be the continuation, a much sturdier package, a much stronger package. And the fact that they claimed they were doing away with this packaging because they were doing plastic free packaging, and they had been doing that for a little while. That's why we're getting the bags. That's why everything was inside. You didn't see the figure. There was no noticeable figure in there. It was inside the box, and people didn't like that either. But they did that for quite a while. And the package, the plastic free idea changed, and they looked into it, and they tried to find a better way to do that plastic free packaging using environmentally friendly plastic. And I think I've mentioned this before in another video, but when they switch to that plastic, it does not hold up the same as regular plastic because it's recycled plastic. It gets like a coppery, like bronze deterioration over years. Unless you really protect that and keep it in a good environment, cold and stuff like that, that plastic will in a certain amount of time start to deteriorate. So vintage plastic, the new vintage vintage classified line is not going to hold up in the long run because of that plastic, that new plastic free, environmentally friendly plastic, or whatever you want to call it, is not going to hold up very well. So we will cover that a little bit more once we get to the first in the new vintage packaged classified line. And it's a weird figure that we're going to start off with because there's a mystery behind it. So we'll cover more of that mystery when we get to that. But yeah, it's an interesting first figure out of the gate for the new one, the new vintage package, and those vintage packages will be universal. So you'll be able to find them at Walmart, Target, Amazon, Hasbro Pulse, you name it. They're going to be everywhere. So that gives everybody a better opportunity for that. So I will say, while I did not like the plastic free package era, I think the Joe team did the best by far of any on making their boxes look good. Yeah, I really like those boxes with the photography, the shooting the galaxy photography, and it had the render in the back with the figure with all the accessories laid out. It had the designations on the side. It had artwork on one side. It had the number. It had everything. Yeah, I kind of think I agree with you on that. I kind of like those packages so far. They've been really, really nice. There's a lot more to talk about because there's little clues in the packaging. There's a lot more on the package overall to talk about as we go along. You'll see there's not going to be that much to talk about on the package because they do away with a lot of that stuff. And I do enjoy it. I agree with you, Michael Gene Fleming. I think the package free era is probably the best era of all the packaging thus far. And you got those little bags with the GI Joe and Cobra, and then some of them got different decos depending on if it's a special bag. And then the interior of the package had the art, and it had other stuff in there. So I think overall that packaging was probably my favorite as well. It's difficult. I know Hasbro to deal with this stuff. I know the brand team. There's a person that does that part. It's not like Lenny. It's not Tony, and it wasn't. It's not Emily, and it's not BMAC, and it's not Matt, and it's not Corey. All those people that worked on the brand team, the GI Joe Classified brand team, it's not their part. There's another person that does packaging and another team that does packaging and stuff like that. And just like that, there's also another person that does like all the words, like all the content, like for the words and the advertising. There's another person that does that. So those two people are different people on the team. So yeah, that must have been very difficult. But I know that Walmart did get a lot of flack from that, and they said that they were making changes and they were trying to hear what people were saying, the consumers were saying, and protect that collector market's products. And going forward, they did do a much better job with protecting that those packages and stuff like that. And I will talk about more of that when we get to their next exclusive line, because I've gotten almost every one of the Walmart exclusive ones. I think, yeah, I've got every single one. And I'm about to order the next one on Thursday, the Ghost Viper. So on top of that, we got another awesome render, one of my favorite all-time troop builders that's not Crimson Guard, and that is the Night Viper is coming. We got a render yesterday for that. I prefer being able to see the figures, but what I was saying was that the plastic free Joe's boxes were far better than the Marvel, Star Wars, Power Rangers, etc. plastic free boxes. Oh, I see. So you do prefer to see the figure. It doesn't really matter to me. I know it's trickier in store because when you deal with stuff like that in store, you don't know what's in that package. You don't know if it was returned, if someone popped a head off of a figure, or what was in that package when you were buying it. You could inspect it to make sure that all the seals are on it and it's taped properly. So there's a way to check to see if the figure is in there. So 99.9% of my classified line has been bought through Hasbro Pulse, Amazon, Target, Walmart exclusive mail order, and very few have I ever bought in store. I've bought a couple of Target ones in store. I've gotten a couple things sent to me that I have, but I would say 99.99% was bought from legitimate dealers, so I didn't have to worry about whether the figure was inside the package. So that part I never worried about. So the people that are buying in store, I can understand why they wouldn't want to have the packages that way. They would rather see the figure so you know you're getting it. But I've bought packages like that, and I have gotten the parts, like the Build-A-Figure Marvel Legends parts missing, or as a representative of Walmart myself, I have seen stuff returned by the service desk. I'm like, didn't you guys look at this? There's stuff missing. It's not complete. Didn't you inspect it before you took it? There's parts missing from this package and this and that. I said, didn't you look at the package to see if it was the right character that was in there? We'll get figures back that have Power Rangers in it, or have Star Wars and a G.I. Joe, or G.I. Joe and a Star Wars. And I'm like, it behooves the customer service desk to really do a little bit more work, but they don't really care about toys. I would say almost 95% of Walmart people don't care about toys. They don't care about the collectors. They don't care about the collector market in general. So I've been trying to get Walmart as a company to make the collector stuff through electronics and make it a little bit better, because in electronics, stuff gets spider wired, stuff gets put in security boxes, stuff gets protected better, and make a collector corner part of electronics. And they are working towards that, a store within a store in the electronics area, and trying to make a collector store in the electronics area. And so we're working on that, trying to get them to do that. It's something that I've been talking to buyers, I've been talking to the merchants, talking to the toy representatives for electronics, who's the collector buyer, the action figure buyer, and the toy people all together. I've been talking to all of those people over the last couple of years, trying to get them to change that, and hopefully in the future that will change. So we'll just have to wait and see, because that's really where I think these type of things like this should be, is in that collector area and not in the action figure aisle. But that's just my feeling on the matter. But you guys can chime in and give me your insights and viewpoints on that. How you've been able to get some of these vintage package figures. Have you been able to get the exclusives from Target and Walmart and Amazon? Have they come in good condition, or have they not been coming in good condition? What would you recommend, suggest that these companies could do better for mail away and collector packaging and so on and so forth? So those are all areas that we could look into and talk about if you would like. I have a fairly decent insight into it myself, being in that retail world for a long time. For Target, for Walmart, for Toys R Us. So I've worked for all those companies. And I have a privilege to talk to the buyers, the merchants, the managers of these areas at a corporate level. So anything else for you guys? Do you guys like this vintage Snake Eyes? Do you think he's the perfect vintage Snake Eyes? Or do you think maybe we should have gotten something a little bit different? I think he really is perfect. What do you guys think in the chat? Any suggestions? Any questions? No? Alrighty. So like I said earlier, we're very, very close to the 150 subs, so we'll be doing that video shortly with a poll. I'm going to give you guys a choice which Street Fighter you would like me to open next in that episode. I'll give you a selection, and in the chat, you can pick the one that you would like me to open, and I'll open that. On top of that, we're going to do another video, another classified figure as well in that. And then we'll do a top 10 of my favorite Joes, I think. And then if you want, we can do another selection of something from my collection that we can do a review on, something really cool. If you guys select something in the chat and want me to open or pull something from my collection that's already open, I can review it and talk about it and give my thoughts on it and stuff like that. So we can make that a really special video with all that stuff in there. My biggest problem with Walmart and distribution delays, I live in New York, tri region, and my Walmarts don't get Joe's until months after other parts of the country, if they ever show up. Well, that's the one of the main problems with these type of situations, and that's why I believe the collector part of this is a key. If the companies realize, okay, there's a collector market here, we've got to make sure we have enough product and make it accessible to all the people in North Carolina. Oh, okay. North Carolina area. Oh, that makes sense because you were at Joe Fest. I should have known that, Michael Gene Fleming. So that's a key part of this, is the collector market. And since now Target and Walmart have created collector areas of the store, Target's is kind of a mess, really, to be honest. But Walmart's is a better secured area. You can get McFarlane toys, you can get anime stuff, you can get Super 7 stuff, you can get NECA stuff there, and stuff that's higher price, like more than $59 or whatever. They spider wire it, they put it in secure boxes and stuff like that. They've done that with some of the Ultimates, Super 7 figures and stuff like that. So I think that way there's someone there that can, if there's a release that's a timed release or whatever, like they do with video games, they can allocate that and everybody could get one. And I think that's a part of this allocation and kind of making sure everybody gets it. That's what they were doing with classified in the very beginning at Target. That's how I was able to get a couple figures early on, because people were scalping them really bad and they were buying cases of them and stuff. So they started allocating them. That's how I got my first Beachhead. And I think I got maybe a Viper that way as well. So also CollectorCon and Target's Geek Out are another ways of getting it. The only thing with Target is that their way of doing it is a lot harder. I don't know why their website is so difficult to try to order and get that delivered. I waited a long time for my ketchup and mustard divers, and I ordered the Steeler and short fuse, and I don't know when that's going to come. I'm expecting that not to come till next year sometime, but it's always very difficult. I never got my breaker. I had to find that at the store. Thankfully, there were lots of breakers in the stores. I guess he wasn't one people were after, the mass device breaker. So it's difficult. Walmart's getting better, and they're looking at it better, and you can see that they're trying to do these CollectorCons 3 times a year. They do one in the spring, one in the summer, one in the fall. So it's all geared. And I've talked to the buyers about this and the way that they're doing it. And they plan this stuff years in advance. Like they already know what the next 3 geek outs are at Walmart and Target and stuff like that, with CollectorCon, Collector, whatever it's called, and fall geek out and spring geek out, summer geek out. They know what they're gonna get in advance, so it's planned, so they can plan the distribution, they can plan the rollout and stuff like that. So the Walmart can have it in time and ship it to them and so on and so forth. So it's difficult to find stuff in store. Even I have a hard time finding in store. So when I saw that the Ghost Viper was already showing up in stores, I was a little astonished because I didn't think that was going to be distributed until after the Geek Out or the Collector Con or whatever it is. But people are finding it in the Midwest already. So I behoove you guys to go check your local Walmarts for that Ghost Viper. You might stumble across it unless a scalper or a vendor gets it before. So I understand completely what you're talking about, Michael Gene Fleming. It is difficult, and there's a lot of factors to look at when it comes to this sort of stuff. And one thing might not work for another person, just like that other thing might not work for that person. So it depends on what your position on it is and where you are and what's going on in your area. So, but I know North Carolina has a big collector community because of Heroes Con being there, and then RetroCon is also there. So they have two fairly decent collectors conventions in that North Carolina area. I've been to Heroes Con probably a dozen times over the years in Charlotte, and it is huge. There's thousands and thousands of people that go to that. So imagine all those people being collectors of different things in your area, whether it be Marvel Legends, Star Wars Black Series, G.I. Joe, Transformers, anime, you name it, all kinds of stuff. So a lot of those vendors are probably trying to get that stuff as well. And that's a tricky part, scalping and vending and things. So there's a lot of factors to go into that. But gives you a little bit more of an insight. You seem like you know a lot, and you've been around a little bit in the collector community, Michael. So I'm guessing you knew some of this stuff already, but hearing it from a person that's a little bit inside the industry is a little bit different than from a collector. I'm a collector, obviously, but there's people that work at Hasbro that are collectors, people that work at Walmart that are collectors, and so everybody's a collector of something, So, but I appreciate you asking those questions and making those comments because it gives us the opportunity to discuss this stuff. And that's really what I want to do. I want to talk about these topics. I want to talk about these subjects with you guys to see what your insights are and see how you feel and what you think could be done or where the mistakes and things are. So thank you very much. I appreciate your contributing to the chat and getting involved with that. So after my 150 video we did not have a toy talk this week. Unfortunately, scheduling, it didn't work out. But Sundays at 2:00, usually Toy Talk live with Terry and Dan Thompson and myself. I will probably be doing another video sometime this week with a lot of new deliveries that are coming in because I think my MMS and Hawk should be coming today or tomorrow. I also have my Striker. I also have my Fortification with Sentry coming in. So all three of those, and then the Cobra Snake Armor will be coming in the next week or so. So we'll be doing videos showcasing some of that, and I got a bunch of reaction figures coming on the way. So we'll do another Super 7 deep dive for reaction. And so look for all those videos. Make sure you hit that notification. Share these videos if you can. The more people that see it, the more people we can get to sub to get us to that 150. We're very, very close. We're not quite there, but we're very, very close to that 150. And we're like 174 on our videos. So we'll get to a 200 very, very shortly. As at the rate that we're going doing these videos, we're going to hit 200 probably before we hit the 150 subs videos. So we'll see which one we do first. So if we do the 200 video episode, I'll do everything that I said I'm going to do in the 150 subs. We'll just come up with something different for the 150 subs. Maybe we'll do the top 10 Cobras, another Street Fighter, another Classified, and do something else for that. So thank you guys all for getting involved and contributing and asking questions and being part of the chat. Thank you, everybody, after the fact, watching and contributing and asking questions in that capacity as well. This is a Joe video, a big Joe video, Snake Eyes. I'm sure most of you guys know the history of Snake Eyes, right? Let me give you a little tidbit on the history of Snake Eyes to finish this video off, since this is a little Snake Eyes video. They did the OG-13 figures, right? And they were trying to save money on that original OG-13. They had a couple of vehicles and stuff like that. And they wanted to figure out where they could cut costs. And the way they cut costs was by taking all the deco off of one figure. And that was Snake Eyes. And he was a completely black ninja, Snake Eyes, commando figure. And so that is the very first Snake Eyes that we got. And it turned out it's everybody's favorite figure. They thought that no one was going to care for it and it wasn't going to sell because it didn't have any deco on it. And it turned out it was the opposite. Everybody loves Snake Eyes. He's like one of their top figures on everybody's top 5 probably list of best figures and characters. And so it had a reverse effect. So a little historical tidbit of Snake Eyes, that they took all his deco off and made him all black, the brand team at the time. So there you go. All right, so Snake Eyes, yo, Joe.